Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It is the 13th of May, 2021. It's about noon Eastern time, and I'm going to take a look at the markets. We have had a decent bounce, and I want to just take a look at things and see if we've actually created a bottom or if there's a little more downside ahead before we move up. So I'm going to take a look at some targets. I'm going to take a look at price action on the Bitcoin. I'm going to take a look at the S&P 500. I'm going to take a look at Nasdaq, as we usually do. I also want to take a look at some stocks. If there's anything you want me to take a look at, just throw a comment in the YouTube chat if you're catching me live, and I'll be more than happy to take a look at those for you. Before I get into any of this, of course, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risks, doing your own research, and I'm just giving my opinion on the market. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts. So we're going to start with the S&P. Here we go. All right, just taking a look at things here. We've got some changes that we're going to need to make to this count. One thing that I want to point out here is, actually, let me see if I've got a different chart here that I think I want to pay attention to, and actually that's going to be here on SPY. So we were having a conversation about SPY just a little bit ago on the server, and I've got the daily on here. We were talking about this and kind of determining where we're going to be topping out at, right? And everybody wants to know where's the top. So, we were talking about 430, we were talking about potentially a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, and I just want to point out a couple things here. All right, so the first thing is, technically, we've reached an area where we could have created a top, and that's, right up here at this 2618. Really, that next level is going to be up here at the 3618, which is, up in like the 460s. Do I think we're going to get there? That's a big if. If we did create a bottom here, and I'm skeptical on this, if we did create a bottom on this, I don't think that we did, but if we did, we should be working on a wave 3, and this doesn't look wave 3 like. So something that we see quite a lot in the markets is we see something that looks, let me see if I can find a good example here. I know that we've had one, probably has been on the ES chart. So let me just pull this up here. Here's, I'm trying to find a really good example to show you guys. And as usual, I don't prepare all of this ahead of time. I'm going to zoom in right here. Doesn't look like much right now. Let me zoom out to like an hourly time frame here and see if I can get this. Because what I want to illustrate here is actually pretty important. We do see this. We do see this quite a lot. I'm going to move back here and see if I can find that chart formation that I'm looking for. Okay, I mean, we'll use this as an example. Although it's not perfect, but we'll use this as an example. Basically, what we're getting is we have a top here. We pull down, we make a new high, and then we start to go a little bit lower. And then we find some support at one of these trend-based fib extension targets. And this one, it just so happened to find that support there at the 618. The reason why I bring this up is going out to a daily time frame, looking at this, I mean, you all can agree with me that we do look like we have, extended up quite a bit. I think we can also agree that this looks a lot from down here like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it looks like we've got 5 waves up here. And then we have a correction. This happened in September and October. I talk about this a lot because I actually put a lot of weight on this because this is a proper correction that lasted for a while, and it looked good for a correction. Like it was a decent correction. We had one similar right here, but this happened very quickly. Due to the fact that this took longer leads me to believe that this is an important correction on a higher time frame, on a larger cycle. This looks like a bigger correction. So if that's the case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this entire move, and I'm going to get my correction here to try and get an upside target for completion. Well, we've got that 618 that's sitting up there at 43.85, almost 4,400, right? We're talking on ES. We're currently at 41.10. So potentially that could be our upside target. And again, I'm looking at this on a daily. So you also have to keep in mind, let me do this on this chart over here, looking again, still looking at the ES chart, moving to a daily. You know, this is what I'm looking at right here. We were talking about getting some chop here, but we're looking at that wave C, and it looks to me like we have, you know, reasonably speaking, we've kind of reached that target. Let me just clean this up a little bit here because I want to talk about this. Because we've had increasing volume, right? So we've got this wave 5 that we're currently working on. And again, I think that it's possible we make our way up here, you know, to this 618 target to the upside. I don't see us going significantly higher compared to where we're at. Now, I do see some upside, right? Because again, I was looking at this as a 1, 2, 3, 4. We had this expanding diagonal here, and then 1, 2, 3. I believe it's possible that we've put in the 4. And then we're working on putting in this 5, which again has that target up there at that same 430, 450 range. Ultimately, I think we go a little bit higher. But looking at that formation that I was talking about before, looking at this correction here, and looking at this move up, wherever it is that we top out at, and it's possible that we top out up here, I tend to believe we're probably going to find ourselves up here at this 618, which means we're going to see some significant downside, but I don't think it's going to be what a lot of people are expecting, because something that a lot of people are tempted to do, looking at the SPY chart, let's go to SPY, let's look at all the gaps that we've got on SPY. I'm going to clear this chart, right? So very similar to what we were just looking at on the ES chart. Let me pull this out here using my trend-based fib extension as I usually do. We've got the bottom. We've got this dominant pivot up here where we started that correction, which I said is important to pay attention to. We've got this target up here at about 436. So it's possible that that is where we're going to find our top. But now to the downside, let's just say in a perfect world, right? Let's just say in a perfect world, we do top out at 436. Well, I'm going to use that same trend-based fib extension. I'm going to start it from this pivot up here. We're going to take it to the bottom, and then we're going to take it up here to the top. Because if this is a larger correction, well, it would make a whole lot of sense for us to find this support down here. Again, what you're going to have a lot of people looking at, are gaps, because you know everybody is a gap finder, and everybody's looking for this gap here to fill. And naturally, we found demand down here as we were attempting to fill this gap. What ended up happening yesterday? A lot of people made a lot of money on puts, but not a lot of people closed them out. So naturally, what's happening today? All those puts, they're likely worthless, or they're losing a significant amount today, as SPY is just kind of, you know, tickling that 410 mark and finding some significant resistance there. But then again, you've got these other gap finders that are saying, okay, well, we've got a gap up here that we have to fill. All right, so which one is it going to be? Well, we're in a bullish trend. So in my opinion, we are going to be going up, and we're going to be filling this gap and probably going to continue higher. I do think that it's reasonable for me to say that we have found a bottom here, at least temporarily. You know, maybe we kind of, you know, compress here for a little bit. If we got into a squeeze on SPY, that'd be fantastic. Ultimately, I do think we go higher. Is there a good trade setup here? Well, let's just look at this. And I'm looking at SPY now. I'm not looking at ES, but we've got this dominant pivot right here, going up to that dominant pivot up there. All right, so we've got the 50 that we didn't touch, right? So I would like to see that. But if I pull this down to this dominant pivot down here, same thing, right? We've got this 382 right here. This is at 402. We'll call it 400. It wouldn't surprise me one bit for us to come down here. I don't think that this gap is going to fill. I think we're going to get another retest here. I think we are going to get a retest. We're going to have to give it a little bit of time to work itself out, but I do think we are going to get that retest. Again, if this was that 4, right, we were talking about this being the 4, and then a 1, 2, 3, working on our 4 here, right? Here's that similar gap that we were looking at on SPY. Now, the nice thing about the ES chart is it's almost a 24-hour market. It's something like 22 and a half, 5, right? So it's 5 days a week. Starts on Sunday, ends on Friday. So the gaps aren't going to be as pronounced on here as you would see on things like SPY, which are only traditional market hours. But anyway, we were talking about there being some significant support here, significant demand, and so far that's what we're seeing. If we broke down through this, next area I would be looking for is really going to be about right here. That's going to be the next area I'm going to be looking for. And on ES, that's going to be at 39.66. So we'll just we'll keep an eye on that. But I think for right now, we're going to see a little bit of a bounce. And again, I'm looking for some bullish moves up into June and July, and from there, from there all bets are off. And it may actually happen before then. We may see some more selling off in June, depending on how quick it takes, how long it takes for us to get to that upside target. That's my thoughts here on the S&P. I'm going to take a look at some stocks later in the video. I want to get the indexes out first. I'm treating Bitcoin as an index. So I'm going to take a look at these guys first, and then I'm going to be taking a look at some cryptos and some stocks. And again, if there's something you want me to take a look at, throw it in the YouTube chat. All right, Nasdaq. Nasdaq continues to look a little bit weaker. And, I got to say, I do have to have a little bit of a bullish bias on Nasdaq. And I've been saying this for a while. We kind of hit our channel that I've got written, drawn out here. We've got so much confluence that we're creating a bottom. The 1 hour, the 3 hour, and the 12 hour were all oversold down here yesterday. And it all looked really good for there to be at least a little bit of a bounce. We were talking about support at 13,000. We talked about that. But then we also saw that this came down here almost to, to 12.9, almost getting down there. Ultimately, this looks okay for, honestly, a 1-2, 1-2. Very possible that we've got a very bullish count in the making here. If this is the case, we're taking a look at least a move up here at, let's see, that's at 14,450, 14,500. More than likely, this is going to find its way up here to about 14,630. I think it's going to get there. I think there's a reasonable expectation that we're going to find ourselves up here at this upside target. This doesn't look super bearish to me. As a matter of fact, I think this looks pretty bullish. Now, my bullish level of invalidation is going to be right down here at 12,608. I want to say one thing. I've started taking some positions on equities here in recent days, and we've got a significant pullback. But I'm not going to allow myself to get scared, because dips, historically speaking, have been for buying. And I think anybody that has taken a look at indexes, as an example, for any amount of time, looking at weeks here, you can't tell me that dips aren't for buying, because look at where we are, right? Look at where we are. It's just continues, the market continues to go up. Obviously, we had the dot-com bubble right here in 2001, and that provided a pretty significant area of pullback. But, back then the index was at like $900, and now the index is at 13,000. Significant upside potential on significant pullbacks. And that same thing also happened in 2020. We had a significant pullback right here. We went from 96.73 all the way down to 68.50. And now we're basically double that. So significant dips are for buying. Now, do I think we're going to fall off the cliff here and we're going to go all the way back down to, say, 9,900 or 10,000? I don't think that's in the cards right now. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't think that's in the cards. If anything, we're going to be correcting from this low here to that high there. And we're going to find ourselves probably at the 236. And again, I'm looking at the Nasdaq index itself. And I would be saying I moved down to 11,837. If we got down there, that would be that next logical area that I would be looking for significant support. Then we find some support on the indexes. Then we can get heavier in equity positions. For right now, I'm light on equity. And if anything, I'm hedged a little bit. I closed out my hedge yesterday, which was a good move. I'm happy about that, or at least my main hedge. But at any rate, if we do find ourselves down to 11,837, that's where I will be very interested in buying more. But I'd like to see some stability in the indexes because the stocks make up an index. The index is going to be your sign on a bigger picture that the market itself is stabilizing and it will be safer to get into these assets. So if you see stock XYZ drop from $200 to $100 and then it goes up to $120, don't feel bad that you missed out on that $20 move. Be happy that you missed out on the $80 drop. So find some stability in indexes before you start taking positions. Don't try and catch the bottom. Don't try and sell the top because, you know, people that have continued to try and sell the top over and over and over have gotten burned. And full disclosure, that was me one day. There was one time where I just continued to try and short the top over and over and over. And eventually it works, but how much did you lose trying to be a hero and catching the top? Let's take a look at Bitcoin. This little guy is very, very interesting. So let me zoom out here. So I put this together and shared this with the Discord last night. So in my opinion, I think we're in the middle of, you know, we've got a 535 here into an A, 535 here into the B. Then we've got basically a 5, 3, and then working on 5 to finish this C. So pulling this guy down here. I don't think this is done yet to finish potentially an A. I'm not convinced that this correction is over. One thing I'll say about crypto is usually earlier in the year in a major bull trend, we see significant moves in April and May, maybe even a little bit into June. But then what happens after that? You know, typically, again, what'll happen after that is we're going to see some, I don't know, boring activity, things that are going to cause people to move away from crypto, move away from Bitcoin, move away from the entire crypto atmosphere. And then what's going to happen after that is, again, typically at the end of the year, starting in, say, September, October, that's going to be another opportunity to get back in. And in my opinion, we're going to see some boringness or some significant pullbacks here in the coming months. Now, somebody asked the question on the Discord today, and I'll read the question now. What's the new target on Bitcoin if 42,000 is not in the picture at the moment? Well, right now, looking at this, I think that we do have some potential that we could go back down to 44. Now, I don't know if 42 is in the cards. It might be. It might be. We may go down to 38 or 39. You know, you don't know how far this wave 5 is going to move. But one thing that I can say is this whole correction here that started when we first touched almost 62,000 back on March 13th, 5 waves down, 3 waves up, 5 waves down. 5 waves up, 3 waves down, 5 waves up. 5 waves down, A, B, C, 3 waves up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's possible we could make it just a little bit higher to maybe 51, 52,000. But then I think we go down for wave 5, which would give us a lower target. Now let's just see if there's anything that can give us any kind of idea of where this could be going. So again, taking this from the top, dominant pivot, do the pullback. Okay, here's our 1618, which we touched. Let's put the 2618 and the 3618 on here, because these are going to be what's going to give us our potential targets. There's the 3618 and the 2618. Let's put these guys on here. So here's the 2618 that's sitting right there at about 43,500. That's a potential downside target. Our next downside target is going to be at 39,000, almost exactly 39,000. So a couple things, all right? Looking at this, if you've been using my indicator for any amount of time, you know that I look for confluence for the 1 hour, the 3 hour, and the 12 hour. Well, that 12 hour isn't there yet. So it's possible that we're just going to chop here and before we make one more low. And I think that Bitcoin probably will make another low. So I'm considering getting into some short-term, short positions on that next move up. And more than likely, let me just point this out, we're going to see a move that looks like this. A, B, and it could be that it's already done, but we're going to be looking for that C wave up to, again, about 51.8, maybe 52, before we see that move down. And I do think it's going to happen. I think we're going to get there. Another way that we can take a look at this is if we measure trend-based pivot extension from the dominant pivot low, so the bottom of wave 3, to the top. And I've got this backwards, so I apologize. Yeah, right here at this 50, at 51,500, that seems to me like the place that I would be considering a short position. And to take that down, a trade setup that I could set up on this, again at about 51,500, let's just do this. We're going to do the short position at 51.5. Okay, so about right there. Your stop loss is going to be right about here, which is significant, right? It's 3.77% stop loss. If you're doing any amount of leverage, that's a significant amount. But what's your downside? Again, your first target's going to be right here. That's a 15% drop. Okay? Your second target, it's a reasonable one, reasonable, for us to potentially come down to 39,000. That would be a 24% drop from this target. Now, we're not talking from the highs, right? From the highs, it's even more. But that would be not out of the ordinary. That wouldn't be out of the question. One thing that I can say is that 12-hour isn't ready to be longed yet. Now, buying, sure, not ready to be longed. This 3-hour shows that we could be spending a little bit more time moving up. You know, it looks like we have found some resistance here in this 3-hour right around the 60s, the high 60s. So that 3-hour could find itself up here. So it may take another day. Maybe this is something that happens tomorrow, giving it some time. But you have to be patient, right? Don't rush into a trade. Set up the trade the plan. So we're planning the trade, then we're going to trade the plan. I am interested in buying, but I think that we've got one more move down first after we finish this wave 4. I only say that because, again, and I've mentioned this already, the price action that we have seen ever since we hit this top over here back on March 13th, 535, 535, 535, 535. Well, I'm actually counting this as ABC. So this is our 5 ABC3, and then we're working on that last 5. So it looks very corrective, and it continues to look corrective. But that just means that alts are going to have room to run. All right, so I do want to take a look at some alts. Haven't taken a look at a lot of these in a while, and some of them have seen some significant downside. I want to take a look at some of the good performers that we have seen here recently. So just some as an example, we've got Nano, which is up a lot. Alpha is up a lot. So we're going to take a look at just a couple of these. I want to spend about the next 8 to 10 minutes looking at some alts and some stocks, seeing if there's anything that would be would be good for buying. But there's a couple I want to take a look at. Nano is one of them. It's had some significant moves here in the recent hours. And just take a look at this. It's making new highs. It made itself, it got itself all the way up to almost $18, went to about $17.60 or so. It's looking okay. This still looks good. We had a buy signal here. It was a lighter buy signal, and then we had a more significant right here. The 3-hour didn't get down there, but the 1 hour and the 12-hour were there at $8, and it doubled since then. And this was just yesterday? Yesterday at 5 p.m. So this still looks okay. It's in price discovery mode now. We are back, in the new high areas. So we're going to see some price discovery here. Let's go to the daily. Let's just take a look at this. Because again, we see 5 and then 5 waves up. So 3, 4, and then we're working on a finishing move here. So we're going to have to, again, I say this a lot and apologize if I sound like a broken record, but we're going to have to be just a little patient as we finish this move. But I think that that Nano could make its way up to potentially $60 or so. That's going to be where this algo target is here to the upside, and that's going to be that wave 5. So we've got 5 correction, and then we've got working on this wave 3, and I actually think this wave 3 is currently in the making. So we've got this 3 here, this 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then working on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a little bit higher. That'll be wave 3. We come back for wave 4. Then we can see more upside to wave 5. Nano looks good for a long-term hold. Now, assuming that you've been in Nano for a while, and you're not just buying right now. I'm going to say this. I say this all the time as well. I wouldn't buy this because there's not a good trade setup. You're a breakout trader, and that's not what I like. I like to buy corrections and not to buy breakouts. More often than not, you're going to be more successful buying corrections, as long as you know what to look for in a correction, than you are going to be buying a breakout. Your risk to reward is much better buying a correction than it is buying a breakout. I want to take a look at Cardano. We've got a lot of people on the server that are holding Cardano. So we've been watching this guy, and we've got this target up here at $2, which we are keeping an eye on. But ultimately, I'm still bullish on Cardano up to anywhere between 250 and 287. It's going to get there, but it's going to go higher. It is going to continue to rise. Cardano isn't done, and nobody's talking about this, just for the record. Cardano, very, very likely, we've had this target up here for a long time, right here at about $22. When it gets up there, I'm basically going to say, I told you so, because it'll get there. It may not be until November, December, but it'll get there. It'll get there. Once we get up to almost $3, I'm going to be looking to shave half of my position, and then I'll be looking to reaccumulate that half back into Cardano on a pullback. Would I buy here? No. I wouldn't buy Cardano here. Now, I know I said Cardano's going to go to like $22, so why wouldn't I buy here? Because that's like 10x from where we currently are. Well, you should have bought when the indicators were talking about buying, right? And I'm just going to put this on here. Let me go back. The last time the indicator said to buy Cardano, it was, back here at basically at the dollar range. We had indicators that said to buy here. We said to buy here, and we had more buys here. A better buy was right here. So this was at all of these lows at about $1 to $1.03. Interestingly enough, we didn't get a buy signal right here, although it was close down here, which was again at $1. And now we are 100% on top of that. So my question to you is, would you buy something that is up 100% since April 23rd in less than a month? Would you buy something that's up 100%? I would wait for that pullback, because again, looking at this, we see a 1, 2, nice correction here, right? So it looks like we got a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, working on that 5, which is going to be the completion of the 3. Okay, let me just outline this here. So from this 2, again, a 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, 4, and then we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, working on that 5. Again, I'm looking for this to go somewhere above $2. And I know on Coinbase, I think it actually broke above $2. Let me take a look at Cardano USD on Coinbase because I think it did break above $2. It actually almost hit 210. You're going to start seeing this on illiquid markets. And I consider Coinbase to be an illiquid market for altcoins. I don't think there's a lot of liquidity, which is going to make it really easy to push up these prices. Let me see if I've got volume on here so we can see this. How much volume was that? Well, it was a significant amount of volume. Not going to lie, that was a significant amount of volume, and now we're pulling back as expected. This happens all the time. This happened to Ethereum Classic a few days ago. On Robinhood, Ethereum Classic went to almost $200, where on most exchanges it didn't pass 165, 170. It all has to do with the volume and the liquidity. It's going to be really easy to see, these illiquid exchanges have higher prices, and you're going to see people trying to arbitrage that, and it's not going to work out really well. Well, one of the reasons why is in Robinhood, you can't transfer cryptos to Robinhood. You're not really buying cryptos if you're trading on Robinhood, because it's not your crypto, right? That's just the way it is. Coinbase, you do have access to that, but I think that there are liquidity issues, which is going to be one of the reasons why you see these spikes on these exchanges that you don't see in other places. I will take a look at UD, audio, and SRM. I'm very interested in audio, so let's start with that one. Audio versus Tether. All right, so this one has seen a significant pullback. Now, I first talked about buying audio at about $2. And maybe it was about 205. It was down here in this area. We had a good move up, but then of course it's fallen since then. I'm continuing to hold this. This is a longer term play for me, mostly because of this. So it looks like we've got a finished correction here. And let me just go ahead and outline this. It looks like we've got a completed correction right there. Okay, so I think that's a completed correction. I'm going to ignore this first candle and say that we've got a nice 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the 3, A, B, C into the 4, and then I believe we've got a 1, 2 here. Okay, so if this is the case, and we do have a 1, 2, well, our 3 target is going to be right up here at about $5.95. That basically $6. That's going to be, what, 200% on top of where we currently are. But that's just wave 3. I think wave 5 is sitting up there at about $12, $13. That's a significant move to the upside, which is why I'm going to continue to hold. I will change my mind if we break down below this level right here, which is at, it's a significant downside risk. I'm not going to lie. Significant downside risk. It's going to be sitting about right there at about $1.15. I don't want to see us break down below $1.15. Really, ideally, we wouldn't fall below this guy here at about $1.41. But I think the upside potential is worth the risk. So did I put a lot in this? No, I didn't. It's something that I'm just going to continue to hold for a while. I'm going to hold it for a couple months and see how it goes. And if it goes down below, $1.15, then I'll probably cut it. And, not a huge loss, right? Because we're looking at potential for, 6, 7, 800% profit. But there has to be some significant downside risk in order to potentially have that kind of gain. Let's take a look at Uni. I will take a look at Ethereum, absolutely. I think Ethereum is something that's going to be pretty good. I'm going to ignore that first candle as I did on audio. Let's see here. So we've got a 1, 2, 2. Let's see here. I'm just trying to make sense of this right here. I would say 80 to 85 is probably still going to be the upside target here. This does look a little bit like a fourth wave. Wouldn't surprise me if we came back down just a little bit more. Maybe potentially down to about $30. but this looks okay. So again, if this is a wave 4, from that wave 2 to the top of wave 3, yeah, so that 236 is sitting down here. I don't think we're going to come down this low. I just, my gut's telling me we're not going to come down this low. But that upside target, yeah, it's sitting right there. So much confluence that says that Uni is going to go to $85. So would I buy Uni? I would. Because that upside target, there's too much confluence there. From this 1-2, that 3618 is there. We've got this negative 2618. When we measured this 1-2 here, this little move, I apologize, it's a little messy. Let me do that so you can see we came down here to this 382, right? We were talking about this a while back. We had that demand there, but that negative 2618 is sitting right there up at 85. There's a lot of confluence that says that Uni is going to go to 85. So I might actually consider buying some if we do happen to find ourselves back down closer to 30. But aside from that, I'm going to hold off. But Uni looks good for a move up to 85. Uni to 85. That's what I think there. So SRM USD. A good pullback here. Let me put this on the hourly. That's a good pullback here. This looks very similar to audio, to be honest. Let me zoom out just a little bit more. Okay. Looks like a 1-2-1-2. Dominant pivot low to the dominant pivot high. We came down to the 50. Yeah, this looks good. I like this. So from this dominant pivot low, this dominant pivot high, we get this pullback here. If that is in fact a 1-2, wave 3 is going to be sitting at 36. Let's see how realistic that is. I mean, really, nothing's realistic in the markets these days. But let's just take a look. Again, I'm going to ignore this price action here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be that we're actually in an ending diagonal here, where we may stop at about 16. We might stop here at about 16, actually. If I'm looking at this, this could be an ending diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm going to change my mind on this for right now, just based on when I zoomed out. Basically, what I'm looking at here is a 1, A, B, C into the 2, 3, A, B, C into the 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's probably going to top out there, and I'm only basing off the fact that it looks like we should be in that last move. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on a lower degree. So I would say still there is a 100% potential on this before we see a more significant pullback. So that's what I'm going to say for SRM. Potentially up 100% from 823, where we currently are, up to about 16.25. I think that's where it's going to go. All right, let me remove my volume here. And I'm going to take a look at Ethereum versus the dollar. Okay. So on this one, we're still flirting with that 4,000. We're at about 3,800. Ethereum, it's still very bullish for me. You know, my upside target was 4,500, right? You can see we've got this. We got to like 4,400. So you got to take some profit, right, guys? The markets don't just move in one direction forever. You got to take some profit. We're gonna get a significant pullback on Ethereum. It's probably gonna go back down to $2,000. But the upside target is still there, right? There's still potential for us to go significantly higher. right? Do I think it's going to go to 20,000? I mean, that target is sitting there. I still feel crazy saying that that is a potential upside target, but that could happen, by the end of this year. It's possible. I mean, really anything's possible. But this wave 5 is going to be put in here any time now, right? If we get a little blow off top, we're gonna see that top there. That's going to put in wave 3. Then we're going to start more of a correction on Ethereum. Whereas Bitcoin has been correcting. Ethereum has been moving up. So Ethereum has to go through a corrective phase. That doesn't mean that Bitcoin has to go through a corrective phase. It already has been, right? But Ethereum will correct. It absolutely will correct. Heck, Ethereum was at like $80 just a year ago. It was at $90, whatever that may be, 88. And now it's at $3,739. Ethereum is going to correct. It's going to happen. So just be careful, right? We have just minimal downside on Ethereum right now. I'm not saying that you should go and sell all your Ethereum. I'm just saying you should take a little profit, and maybe you want to take that money and reinvest it later on that pullback. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at least pull out your original investment. Just protect yourself as much as possible. So I think that Ethereum does have significant upside ahead. But I also will say that, we were talking about buying Ethereum when it was below 2,000, and now it's almost 4,000. So protect yourself a little bit. That's all I'm trying to say. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end it. It's about 10 till 1 o'clock, and it's 13th of May, 2021. If this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you need access to our Discord, go to BitDoctor.org. You get some information there on how to access the free community, how to access the indicator that I use in all my trading, and how to get access to our insured area on the server. And of course, last but not least, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, good night, and a good evening.